Hello everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at a feature that I didn't really know existed, but apparently it's been around for about 10 years. This is the ActionController Live. This allows you to stream data to the client as it's being written, as we can see here, effectively giving you a very small snippet of code requirement to stream data to the client. Now this might seem a little bit odd because we have, we have our WebSockets with Action Cable. We have like our Turbo. I'm really not sure what the use case for this is, and there's really not a lot of material covering it. I had to search Google by date published, and I found one article covering this. So I have a link to this in the video description. But I wasn't able to get anything to work without it just crashing over and over again or grinding the server to a halt. And actually right now I'm kind of in a race against time because I don't know what happened, but ever since I tried this, my computer's been blue screening like every 10 minutes. So probably going to have to repair something. So, tread lightly. I don't think it's related, but it would be really odd for the computer to just start blue screening as I'm trying this. So I've probably managed to butcher something. But okay, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna give this a try real quick, see if we can stream some data to the client. It's probably easier to set up than like Action Cable. I just don't know how learnable it is because it feels like no one really teaches it. Also, some of the issues, if I can find them, some of the issues are from like 2013 and they are still apparently not fixed as of 2021. So, always a good sign when there is like 9 years worth of stuff being not fixed. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a video project. So we're going to say Rails new video, then we'll cd into the video, and then we'll run a code dot just to go ahead and check that out. So again, there's some errors here that you're going to run into probably, but I think this setup seems to work that I have here that I'm going to show you. It's pretty simple. Kind of stripped out a lot of and you can see here from the previous recording trying to do this where the computer blue screen. I stripped out a lot of the stuff that was giving me errors personally, so maybe just start with this base and see if you can build out from there. But we're going to go ahead and generate a controller, call it pages, give it a home action. Then we'll generate another controller where we call this, I don't know, stream, and we give it a live action. Go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to go ahead and run a Rails S. That worked. Come over to localhost port 3000 to start this. Now let's come over to config and routes.rb. We're going to change the pages home to be a root and a hash. And then for the get here, we're going to get live, and we're going to take this to the streams controller and the live action. That should work. We can now come over here and refresh, make sure that worked. It did. Okay, cool. Now let's come up to our app and our controllers and our stream controller. So the first thing we have to do in here is include the Action Controller Live. Now what we can do is establish a couple of response headers. One of these is usually considered a requirement, which is the text/event-stream. This is usually found in the example as well. Now, anytime I tried to do a loop, I ran into issues. A 10.time should be fine. But the other thing I ran into an issue with was trying to close these things. So here they're calling response.stream close as an ensure. So what we can do down here is before the end, we just do this ensure, and get rid of one of these ends to ensure that we close the stream. Now, the other thing that can happen here is when we create our SSE, which we're going to do right now by saying SSE equals SSE.new. And we pass in the response.stream with a retry of 300 and an event of stream started. What can happen is you might have a couple of issues, in which case you're going to have to rescue. So the first one that can happen is a action controller : live : client disconnected, in which case it's telling you to log some info, but also you can do a SSE.close. And potentially a response.stream.close. I'm not entirely sure. Now there's another one, which is a rescue for a IO error. And again, I'm not entirely sure which of these is required. This is all just an amalgamation of people running into these issues over and over again and saying to, do something to this effect. It seems a little bit redundant to have this happening, 3 times, but at least we're pretending to do some error handling here. But in this case, what we've done now is we have the stream started, but we're not actually doing anything. So what I'm going to do to test this is just do a puts that says stream started. I'm going to come over here and refresh. And now you'll see that nothing is happening. And the reason why is, although we have a server side, we're not really sending it to anyone. So we have to come into our views and our pages and our home page. So in our home page, what we're going to do is we could use some stimulus controller stuff. It's really up to you. We're going to start by just doing a target div with an ID, and then we'll do some script tags, which we can just do like this. And in these script tags, we want to start with a let source equal new event source. We're going to change this to /live because that's what we set our route to over here. So our get live is now this /live. So we're creating an event source for that. And I think you can go over to Mozilla event source if you're interested in learning more about what the event source is. I'll have a link to all of this stuff in the video description, assuming my computer doesn't blue screen again. But effectively what this is going to allow us to do is create a source for our events. I know, shocker, that will then allow us to stream from this. So just like with a WebSocket, we can now do something like a source dot on open, for example. And then you can create a, oops, not that. You can create a function that takes in an event and maybe do something like this, where we do a console.log. The connection has been opened, and then you can pass in the event just like that. Now the other thing you can do is a source on message, where the message has been received, pass in the event, and then you can set the document.getElement by ID target, which is what we have up here, .enter HTML to be the event.data. And now if we do this, and we come over here and we refresh, you'll see we have a uninitialized constant streams controller happening over here because this is actually the stream controller. So let me change this to be a singular, and we can come back over here and hopefully refresh and scroll down. So now we can see the stream started, and you're just going to see stream started happening over and over again, because as this happens, it's going to run through this live loop ad nauseum. Like, it's always going to be doing this. Now, in theory, that's not great if you have some logic in here where like you only want it to run once, but you have to remember that this is sort of like a live loop where it's just constantly updating the client. So if you have something that you only want to happen once, you're probably going to have to make some kind of variable outside of here, set it to false after the first run, and then you're done, right? Or something to that effect. You do also want to be careful with application state, depending on how you're creating threads here, because all of this stuff is not running on the main thread, because if it was, you wouldn't be able to like refresh or anything. But okay, this is kind of boring right now. It's just putting stuff out to the console. How do we actually affect the web page? Well, thankfully, we have this lovely little div with an ID of target over here. So what we can do is we can do something like this. We can say, all right, I want to sleep for 1 second, and then I want to do a sse.write, and I can pass in a message. What I can do here is just some quotes where I'll say the current time is time.now, or I guess we could even do time.current. And then your event here could just be the current time, right? Something like this. We can now come over here and refresh, and you can see here that the stream is hopefully working again. It should be. There we go. So now it's streaming this, but we're not actually really doing anything here. We're taking in this this event, but we're not getting any of the data. So if we open up our console, we can see that we are seeing that the connection has been opened, which is this message right here. The issue is we're not getting the message has been received. And the reason for this is we have this event current time here, but we are doing a source on message, right? So the way to change this is come over here, change this to a message, or I guess the way to fix this is what I should be saying. You can now come over here and refresh, and now you can see, because we have the event equal to what we actually expected here with the on message, it's now ticking up. And you can see that this is another one of those issues where you're going to have to do some refinement to make sure this happens like every second, because the way I have it right now with the sleep of 1, you know, it's a little bit off because I think it's actually happening every like 1001 milliseconds, maybe. You might even be able to see that in here somewhere. So what's going to happen is it's going to be a little bit off. And then every once in a while, you're going to see it tick up 2 seconds instead of 1. But this gives you just a rough idea of how you can continually update the page using this as a loop. Again, it's really not documented a lot. It's not really talked about a lot, but I think there's a way to do something similar with like active storage stream files or something, or you can use the active storage streaming API to send like the blob in chunks or something. I'm actually interested in looking into this, but I haven't really had the time yet. But yeah, I just wanted to cover this because, you know, it's kind of an interesting tool, and it's, as you can see, pretty easy to set up compared to setting up like a WebSocket. So it might be useful in some instances. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you know more about this or if you know how to set this up. Oh, we can actually see right here, it's being completed in 1001 milliseconds pretty consistently. So that's why it's going to be ticking up at a little bit of a weird pace here. But yeah, I just wanted to cover this. Hopefully you, I don't know, learned something, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.